You're listening to episode number 40 of the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. In this episode, we're going to do something new. As you know, we've been doing, Q&A on Monday and then the regular podcast on Wednesday. What we're going to give a whirl here is what I call a transformational story. And today's podcast is from one of my students named Jennifer, and her story is from depression to happiness. Jennifer is going to share with you the exact steps that she took to go from a life where she could barely get out of bed each and every day, where she went, from being extremely unhappy to being in a funk and really not having good health, to a place where she's really, really doing well and has a really amazing life. So enjoy her story because there will be takeaways for anyone and everyone listening that I'm sure that you can apply in your own life. Keep listening. Hi, I'm Jim Fortin, and you're about to start transforming your life from the inside out with this podcast. I'm widely considered the leader in subconscious transformation, and I've coached super achievers all around the world for over 25 years. Here, you're going to find no rah-rah motivation and no hype, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never thought possible. If you're wanting a lot more in life, to feel better, to heal, to have peace of mind, to feel powerful and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you because you're going to start learning how to master your mind and evolve your consciousness. And when you do that, anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm glad you're here. This podcast is new. It's a different format than we've used before. I don't even know what we're going to call it yet. I think we're going to call it something like just a transformational podcast. And we're going to have someone on each podcast that's made significant transformation in their life. Like today, we have Jennifer. And the reason we want to do this is because I was just talking to Jennifer before we went into record mode, is that I can say something, and Jennifer's in one of my programs and has been for a while, and she can hear it from me. But if she hears it from someone else who's taken the information, they've integrated the coaching and the information, and they've gotten a breakthrough, she might hear it in a different way from that person as opposed to hearing it from me. So I don't know where this is going to go yet. I have some questions for you, and we'll talk about it. But let's do this first, and we'll just see how this unfolds. And again, this is not scripted for either of us, and we're just going to see where it goes, okay? And we're going to help some people. Okay, so what I do, and this is not some gratuitous, push for my program or any of that. I mean, we won't mention it because that's how we know each other. But this is really about people hearing Jennifer's story, and those that can relate, and everyone can relate in some way, can take her story, her learning, her shift, her transformation, apply it to their own life and get change. So Jennifer, when we met, where were you in your life?
I was in probably year 3 of a healing journey, which I had been on since my divorce. Mm-hmm. And I had kind of hit rock bottom after that divorce. And I had been working slowly working my way back up, trying to get to the level that I thought that I could and knew I could perform at again in business and life. But what was happening was I kept falling into these deep depressions. And my business was suffering. My relationships were suffering. My physical health was suffering. And I just kept looking for the next thing that would heal me. And I would heal a little bit better. But I just never found that thing that would tip me back into kind of my pre-divorce, pre-depression person.
Okay, well, I want to take that apart. When you say you hit rock bottom, what does that mean for people listening? I mean, what was that for you? Because I'm sure people can already relate to this.
I mean, I didn't even realize how deeply depressed I was. I thought that it was exhaustion. So I could not get out of bed. Mm-hmm. I could not speak in complete sentences. I could not email my clients back because I couldn't finish the thoughts that I needed to have to email them. Mm-hmm. I couldn't. It was very hard for me to go out in public. I was consumed by fear. I was really paralyzed in a lot of aspects. Most of the aspects of my life, I was paralyzed by fear. And again, that happened in business, that happened in my social life. just in my day-to-day life. And there was just so much exhaustion and so much mental fog
Mm-hmm.
that I really struggled to just get through the day and to stay out of bed, to get through the day without just, wanting to crawl back in bed.
Yeah, and I want to ask there, I want to create a distinction. Um, and by the way, I'm being very serious here, but please tell people that I have a sense of humor and I enjoy
You do. Yes, you do.
because people actually will write in and say, I like seeing you have, you're joking or something. And I don't think they see that enough in the podcast. So you know me, I do have a sense of humor, people. But we're being serious here. The deep depression. Did you seek any medical help for that, or were you on medication or okay?
No, I actually was in a unique situation where I lost my healthcare insurance in
Mm,
my divorce. So it was very important to me. I knew that I was not going to be able to get out of this through medication. So to me, I decided I have to get through this by shifting the thoughts in my head, shifting the food that I'm eating, shifting the physical things that I'm doing with my body. I had to figure it out without medication. So that's kind of where that healing journey
mm.
came from, was because I knew that if I wanted to feel better, I had to do it on my own.
Now let me add here just a legal disclaimer that if somebody thinks they need health care and they can afford it or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and they think it's right for them, then they should obviously do what they think is right for them and seek
Mm-hmm.
professional help, health care, whatever it might be. But you were in a place where you didn't have health insurance, I'm guessing, and you're like, well, I can't afford health care at that time.
Exactly. Right. I wish I had healthcare, but I didn't. So,
Yeah. And so you were going through how do I heal, which is how you
mm-hmm.
started this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How was your health suffering at that time?
I was full of pains in my body. So during this period, I turned 40 years old. And I really thought, well, this is what 40 feels like. It hurts. My joints hurt. My knees hurt. I just told you before we got on this call that I have um, multi-level house.
Mm-hmm.
And going up and down the stairs all day, my knees hurt every time I went up and down the stairs. And that was all day long. And I really thought that that was what 40 felt like. I didn't think that it would get better. Um, I was kind of resigned to,
Stop right there. You didn't think that your life would get better.
nope. I thought that this was how it felt to be 40. I thought that this was how it felt to be single. I thought that I had maybe burned myself out. I was a doer and I worked very hard for the previous part of my life. I worked a lot, and I see now that that was a lot of avoiding what was going wrong in my marriage and everything else. But I did not think that I was going to feel better. I accepted where I was at.
That's powerful. We'll come back to that. And something I don't think you've ever heard me say before, as long as you've been in my programs, is one of my coaches one time, she has a PhD. You've heard me mention Lori before. And she said that many times that when people are overdoers, they do that as a mask to keep them from being intimate with themselves or with other people. So they stay busy all day long, so they never have to look into themselves. And she even took the word intimacy and she broke it down, and it's into me, I see.
Yeah.
But so many of us avoid that because we stay busy all day long. And when we do that, we don't have to look at ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I've not said that in the group before, but I wanted to share that with you and people listening. So you were in a place where you thought, now let me share something with you, is even though you just said you thought nothing would change, you did have a glimmer of hope because you enrolled in my program. So you were still looking for
Mm-hmm.
something, knowing that something would change.
Mm-hmm.
But let's do this. Where are you today? And by the way, okay, she's grinning. So if you're only listening to audio, she's like smiling now.
Beaming. I am in a place that I did not know was possible.
Mm,
I have one of the things, the depression is gone. I mean, absolutely gone. Um, the one of the other things that I haven't talked about, well, I guess I did a little bit, but fear. I was really paralyzed by fear a lot. There was this fear of not being good enough. Um, I'd already lost my marriage, my healthcare, almost my business,
mm.
half of my kids, my retirement. I mean, I'd lost a lot. I'd lost my identity. And I was really afraid to kind of rebuild my identity and go back out there
Because,
because
I'm
because
sorry.
I thought that if I did it and failed, and kind of the way I felt, I mean, it was very easy to fail in that very tired, exhausted, mental fog place. If I created this new identity and I put it out there and I failed, to me, it was like the culmination of everything, every pain from the past, every judgment from the past where I had been judged, not good enough. It kind of felt like I had one more chance. And if I didn't do it, then this was, it was like, this is it. You're not good enough. You can't do it.
And let's go here. So, like I said, I've not done a format like this. So, you know me being with me that I just tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat things. So, obviously, I don't want to make this a gratuitous promotion for the transformational coaching program. But what's the number one thing in the program? Let's go here first. Fear of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you still have some or whatever, let's just be open and honest where you are. But you're saying that you've transcended that.
Mm-hmm.
So, or explain to what degree you have and how that applies in your life. And then we'll talk about how you did that.
So where I'm at now is that it's kind of two steps. I let go of the pain of my past, and that includes the divorce and everything else that goes with that, and the overdoing that I was always doing to avoid knowing myself better. I let go of that pain of the past.
Let's stop there. Is that, and you hear me talking about being present all the time in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you think? And I don't know, I'm just going fishing here. Do you think that's what kept you trapped or stuck, is that I'm going to live in the past every day?
I did live in the past every day. I did. I was in this victim mentality, which I didn't even realize, because I had gone from this overdoer, work hard. I mean, I got stuff done. That was who I was. And I helped everybody else. And again, that was to avoid the pain of what I was going through. I went from that to this, person who just wasn't able to do anything. And I adopted this I let go of my overdoer personality or identity, and I adopted this victim identity. And I was just so stuck in the past. I lived in the past constantly, and I didn't even realize it.
Okay,
And
hang on. Give us some examples of what you mean living in the past.
I would try to relate to somebody. Like, say if I met a new person. I mean, dating was a thing that was trying to happen in my life, not very successfully, but if I met somebody, I felt like I needed to explain my entire past to him so that he knew this deep sadness that I had inside me. Because I felt like nobody could relate to me unless they knew all the horrible things that I had gone through. And so constantly I was we couldn't talk about who I was now or what my hopes were for the future, because I always had to explain my past in order to kind of feel like he could, possibly understand me.
Let's take this apart some more also, because I actually answered a podcast question you asked a while back. What you didn't mention here is, didn't you have years of abuse prior in your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What can you share with us about that? And then we'll come back to where we're going.
It was, I've experienced every type of abuse there is: physical, sexual, mental, emotional, verbal. Mental and emotional are kind of the same. And I did not see, this is where the overdoer thing came in, because I did not realize it. I did not see it as abuse. I thought that I deserved it. I thought that I was not good enough, and therefore I deserved the things that these people, my relationships, were doing to me. And so I did not see it as abuse until I removed myself finally from my marriage. And a counselor helped me see that his behavior was actually very abusive.
But you weren't recognizing it as that, right?
I wasn't recognizing it at
okay.
first. I recognized it as something that I deserved. I had a mantra, and I shared this in the program, that I am so unworthy. That was a mantra that I was on repeat all day long. I am so unworthy, because I felt like I deserved these things that they were doing to me. There were multiple relationships. And I just kept attracting the same ones. So,
which is identity, which you've heard, which we talk about in the program.
I really deeply thought that I deserved those things. So I did keep attracting them. And that's where the fear of going forward with a new identity came, because I thought, if I fail at this, if I'm not good enough, it's like all those abusers of the past were proven right.
Yeah, they're right. Okay.
In that one instant, they would be proven right, because then it would mean, yep, you weren't good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. What I want to point out is, actually, I don't know if this is going to be, well, it's going to be audio for the podcast, but we're doing video. And I don't know if the team's going to use it, repurpose it or something else. So I had to shave for this particular podcast. But if you're not watching the video, what I want to share with you is, Jennifer, when you're talking about not being good enough, and I just was unworthy, she's actually smiling here in the video. Now, being a hypnotist for many years, if she had started crying when we were doing this and she went into the emotions, that would have told me, even though she's analytically saying, I'm through this, guess what? She's not at an unconscious level because the emotions are coming out. And you're being very congruent right now. I mean, you're actually
Mhm.
smiling, and your physiology shows that you have moved through that emotionally at this point in
That's
your life.
that's a really interesting point, which I didn't know, but it really, that's exactly where I was at previously. When I said I couldn't move forward, I was crying all the time. I couldn't think about, this past without crying all the time. And when I finally did let go of the past, and to me that means it's a little bit different than forgiveness. And I don't know if we want to get into that or not, but to me it was a little bit different than forgiveness. It was almost just, I let it go. I saw it as something that uh, created who I am, and it had its place in my life. And I let go of it, and I no longer am consumed, number one, in the past. I don't think about it all day long. I rarely think about it at all, actually. And when I do think about it, I don't have that sadness. I don't have that crying.
Mm.
I, I appreciate it for what it was. I appreciate that it happened, actually.
And which I'd mentioned to you in the program, that everything that's happened to you has brought you to where you are.
Exactly.
And then I posted something last week, and then we'll come back to you being stuck and then move on from there. But I posted something last week that now is the only moment we have, and everything in the future is created from right now because there is no future.
Mhm.
So what you were doing is which you've seen this, and you see people when they come in the program. So many people are, I'm divorced. This happened to me. Somebody stole my business. This failed. My husband is this. My wife is this. My kids are that. My mother-in-law's all that stuff. And so many people live in the past. And the question I was going to ask you is, what kept you stuck? What kept you stuck? And it sounds like that was the linchpin for you, that when you
Mhm.
stopped living in the past, everything changed for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I did not realize, like I said, I didn't realize that I had this victim mentality. I didn't realize how much time I was spending living in the past, rehashing the past. I spent,
Were you angry about the past?
I was hurt. I was, I was more hurt. I don't have a lot of anger in me. That's one thing that I never really had to work through. I don't have anger in me. I had a lot of pain, and I had a lot of fear. I had fear of, when the people who are around you that love you the most can hurt you the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I really had trouble trusting other people.
Mm.
How does just an average friend, how does just an average acquaintance, how can I trust them to treat me well when the people who love me the most in my life treated me so painfully? So I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of pain.
Where are you with that now about trusting people?
So with letting go of the past, one of the things, and this was not a conscious thing that I tried to do, it just kind of happened together. When I let go of the past and when I really saw it for kind of the beauty that it was in creating me who I am now and this journey that I've been on, I realized that there is no need to fear anything, because whatever happens is going to make me who I am. Again, everything that has happened has made me, it's given me the strength that I have. It's given me the outlook that I have. It's given me the story that I have. It's given me the drive to heal other people in the way that I have.
Mm.
And that's all part of my purpose in life now. And so anything else that happens will be beautiful. I always say beautiful and perfect. It will be beautiful and perfect too, because it will make me who I am, and it will be part of my journey. So that really erases so much fear in my life. I mean, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I got nervous before this podcast because it's my first podcast recording,
Yeah.
and my
By the
dogs
way,
were barking, of
you're doing
course.
great, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. So, but I get nervous about things, but I don't have that paralyzing fear that kept me from engaging in life completely.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I remember that I was coaching you in the program. And I said to you one day, I said that anything and everything that has happened to you in your past is a blessing so that you can grow and evolve. And I remember when I said that, you got it. I mean, a lot of times people will take it and they'll wrestle with it, or they'll argue with it, or they'll fight it, or they'll ignore it. And watching your body language when I said that, I'm like, yeah, that landed. She got it.
I think I was like this when you first started talking. I have
Yep.
my shoulders hunched, and then when you said it, I remember just relaxing. It did it released a lot in my even in my body. Just
Yeah. Yeah. You also have used a word here like 4 times, and we do a whole week on this in TCP. But from your perspective, you've said I was a victim. There are a lot of people. Now, first off, you didn't know you were a victim, right?
right.
Okay. So I think it's fair to say, and I can say it by observing people over the years, that most people live from victim mentality, not even knowing they're living from victim mentality. Because no one says, you know what? I feel like being a victim today. Great day to, it's sunny out. I'm going to be a victim. So what did victim mentality look like for you?
I think it goes back. Well, it was interesting because like I said, I didn't realize that what I was experiencing was abuse.
Hmm.
And so when I was working with a therapist, and she did not tell me I was a victim of abuse, but she told me to think of the things that happened to me. She said, picture them happening to somebody else. And instantly when I did that, I just was horrified. I was like, that is not appropriate. That's not right. That can't happen. And that was the first time that I realized that what I experienced was abuse. And that is what instantly shifted my identity to suddenly all I could think of was, I'm an abuse victim.
Mm.
I'm an abuse victim. And that's the first time that abuse or victim really came into my awareness. But it was something I couldn't drop. I couldn't stop thinking, I'm an abuse victim. How did I become an abuse victim? Because like I said, I was a doer. I got things done. I ran my own businesses. I'm independent and intelligent. And yet I was an abuse victim.
You were
And
compartmentalizing.
I couldn't rationalize that
Yeah.
with who I thought I was,
And well, who you thought you were was based upon who you were, what you were doing,
what I was
not the way
doing.
you were being.
Exactly.
So what you were doing is you're like, I'm doing, and this is productive. So you know what? I'm like XYZ person. I'm great.
Yeah.
But on the inside, you still had those hurts and all those pains and all that stuff from all those years of the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You covered it up with the doing, which actually probably gave you a sense of higher self-worth, because if I'm at least doing something, then people can look at it and they can approve of me, and I get my value there as opposed to value from the inside.
Exactly.
So we're on, okay. So
Yes, exactly what you just said. Yep.
okay. How long did it take you to shift?
In the program?
Um, we don't want to keep it to you. I don't know how to ask the question, but I'm curious. But because see, a lot of people think it takes a long, long, long time to change.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the program for a second round, because a lot of people, as you know, go through it multiple times, because each time it's like peeling back a layer of an onion, and they evolve and grow even more. But let's say time frame. I've known you for what, 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thereabouts, 5 months. How long was it before you started realizing, hey, there's something else here? There's something more inside of me.
I think, I mean, to back up real quick, I get what you're
Sure.
asking. And just real quickly, I started my healing journey in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very incremental. I went through so many mentors, you would not believe it. But every one of them contributed something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. But then I knew I still wasn't to the place where I needed to be. So I kept looking for more. And so that was from 2015. And then I joined TCP in January 2019.
My transformational coaching program,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
So I had been working for 4 years or
Okay.
3 years to get better. Within 3 months of this program, that is where the pain of the past was gone. My fear was gone. My depression was gone. And and another thing that we haven't even talked about is I was starting to find my self-worth. I was starting to find actual self-love, like not lighting a candle and taking a bath, but like
Right.
actual self-love. And I was
We
starting
talked
to
about
find
that,
that.
obviously, like week number 1 and self-esteem and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep on going, because I have another question I want to add to that. But unless if there's anything else you
But
want to add.
and I think in the first round of the program, I had so many great breakthroughs. but I joined for business. I joined because I couldn't get my business going. I kind of felt like, well, I'm as good as I'm going to get. I need to get my business going. And that's not at all what I actually had to work on. And it became very clear once I started the program. And so the first round of the program, I got so many great breakthroughs. But I never even really touched the business. And so now in the second round, I'm still having more breakthroughs. And now I'm starting to kind of approach my business. So that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, it just keeps going. It keeps getting better. And there's just so many more, layers of the onion we talk about to peel back.
Let's actually bring that back to people listening. Is you've seen this because you know the amount of people in the program, and you've seen evidence. 90% of people are like, I'm here for my business. And they recognize that that's not what it's about, because your business is a reflection of you. And you can try to fix your business, which is external, but your business will never get better if you're an entrepreneur, small business person, until you get better, so to speak, right? And
Yeah.
until you healed, your business did not start to heal. And then you heal, like you posted something in the group 2 weeks ago, and I think you were on the beach with your dogs. Remember that post? And that's when I'm like, you know what? I said to myself, I said, she's finally free of herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And I couldn't put myself out in my business until I reached that place, because every time I went to put myself out there in my business, I was just consumed by that fear again. I didn't see my own self-worth, and I didn't want to be judged and have this be, the final judgment where I'm not good enough. So I couldn't do anything in business until I tackled this victim mentality, this fear, this lack of self-worth.
Okay, so let's go here. Yes. Okay, so very good. So the thing that kept you the most stuck was living in the past, with all the, not so much the anger, but the fear and everything related. What is a daily thought process or strategy, which you've heard me use the word strategy before? What is the daily process for people listening that keeps you continuing to grow?
You shared a mantra that you have, that I've adopted, and yours is a bit longer, and I just kept mine simple. Yours is everything always has been and is
Now.
and will be fine.
Yeah.
Everything is fine. And so I just say that to myself whenever I need it. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. My office that you're looking at right now flooded a couple months ago, and it almost flooded this last weekend because I lost power again.
Mm.
And I just keep telling myself, everything is fine. Everything is fine. I don't go into worries of the future. I don't go into, horrible things that have happened in the past. Everything is fine. And I
Because
just stay very present.
you're living, I was going to say, you're living right now in the now.
And I don't know if we've even talked about this, but I have so much more time in my day now because I am so much more present. I think I spent so much time rehashing the past and worrying about the future, and not enough time just being present to what is. And I feel like I have so much more time in my day now. Never is a strong word, but I almost want to use it. I almost never go back and rehash the past anymore. I worry about the future a little bit, and that's something to work on. But it's very easy for me to bring myself back to the present and just remind myself, everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Now, yes. And that's a very powerful place that I work from, is that everything always has been, is now, and will always be fine. Because when you really take a bigger look at life, that is the truth. And as I've mentioned to you in the program and people in the program, if you're not on the planet anymore, you kick the bucket, well, you're fine then also,
Right.
so everything is always fine. And then I did mention also, is you said a little fear, and we are all learning. Every one of us is on a path, is that fear is the idleness of will. And I don't mean willpower, but using your life force, will. This is what I create because I'm a born creator. But I've watched you grow so much in our time that you're getting there very, very quickly. Okay, let's say that you're coaching someone. Somebody comes up to you that you can relate to, or they can relate to you and say, you know what, Jennifer, your story, it just resonates with me so much. How would you coach them to higher ground?
Once I figured out where they were in their life.
Well, they can relate. Jennifer, I've got a similar story. I've been in bad relationships. I was abused as a kid. I just don't feel worthy. And maybe we've covered it, but I'm just curious, how would you coach them?
I think I would think the biggest thing for me is to really question what is true and what is not. And I had so many things in my mind. Just the mantra that I had, I am so unworthy. That was never a true statement. Never. But I took it as truth. And I think that I would really, you know, take a look at a lot of the things that that person believed and really question, is that true? How do you know it's true?
Mm.
Is there another way to look at that? Is that how you really feel? Because there's so much that we just believe that isn't true, or things that we can't even know are true. I mean,
Hmm.
but we take them as truths,
Yeah.
and we live our lives from them.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a really powerful place for me, is just to question everything. Is this true or not? Or am I just going with what I've always believed, or what I've always been told, what I've always been programmed?
Which we do in the program as well, about stories, about identity, and about interpretations, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what I want to point out also, completely off topic, but on topic, is that I didn't even realize till right now by watching you and talking to you, you didn't just go through the program, you were in the program emotionally, meaning you did what I asked you to do. You actually put your life on hold, let me
I did.
transform myself. But I want to talk to everyone, not even about my program, but any program. So many people approach whatever program it is, and they'll just kind of dabble with it or play with it a little bit. But many people get what you said you were getting, a little more, a little better, a little different. That's how people live. And that's a longer road as opposed to approaching life from how can I transform my life from the inside out? Because transformation is not more, better, different. And I always mess up the word. Is it what's a butterfly before it's a butterfly? Is it called a
The
chrysalis?
chrysalis. Mm-hmm.
Chrysalis, yeah. A chrysalis never says, I want to be a little more, a little better, a little different. It transforms into the butterfly. But most of us, we just want a little more, a little better, a little different, and we just take baby steps forever, which you've actually you've gone beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
What is one? What? Okay, here. What is one more? What if I said to you? And again, this is not. I don't have any pre questions or anything. What is one thing that you say that you're either doing or being on a daily basis to keep you climbing further and higher?
Um, the thing that I'm working on being right now is committed.
Okay, committed.
And that's kind of open ended, but I'm committed to the things that I think will make the biggest difference to me. I'm committed to my business. I'm committed to healing. I'm still committed to healing. Um, I'm committed to being kind. That's what I've always, since in this journey, it's been so important to me to be kind and loving. Um, so I guess I've also been very committed to the program, to this work too. And that is one thing that really helped me, get as much out of it as I have.
Yeah, let me ask you there. Thank you for that. Do you think a lot of people when they approach change, not transformation, but they approach change, mm, I'm going to just be my opinion is they're not at all committed, and that's not their air quote fault. It's that they have a belief system that overrides that says nothing's going to be different, nothing's going to change. It just is what it is, and this is my life for me.
They might believe that, or they might also just think change is hard. I mean, I have worked with close friends who want to change, but when it comes down to it, when we identify the things that maybe should change, there's resistance there because change is hard. People are just not open to it.
Well,
Um,
let me add there. Okay, so we also know that what we believe is what we create. We can make change hard. We can make change easy. In our time together, the transformational work has it, and please just be very, very candid. I want to choose the right words here. Has it been a matter of being committed, a matter of being focused, a matter of attention? Has it been hard?
it has not been hard. It has been amazing and eye opening. And there are difficult days where you feel like everything's falling apart, but it's like the chrysalis. The chrysalis actually, butterflies don't just turn from a caterpillar into a butterfly, they turn into soup.
Yeah.
And then they put themselves back together.
Mm.
And that happened for me within this program, but it also definitely happened for me within my whole healing journey. And so there are difficult days, but it is not hard when you know that there's something better, on the other side. And I think out of all those things that you said, focus, committed, I think trust was the biggest thing for me.
Mm,
I trusted myself
hmm.
that I was committed to myself, that I was going to get there. I trusted this process. I saw enough results quickly that I trusted it. I was like, there's something here. Keep going with it. Um, and I think that trust was probably one of the biggest things that made a difference for me.
I want to go. I didn't know this was going to go there. Two places I want to go, and we'll wrap up. Is obviously I ask people to trust me, but if you don't trust yourself first, it's hard to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone doesn't trust, very beginning of the program, I say, just put yourself in my hands. Just stop questioning, go through the process. There's a method to my madness. But the reason that people won't enroll in the program in the first place is because they don't trust themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
like what I have to say, but they don't trust themselves enough. And that is, I wasn't planning on going there, but that is a massive thing, is that we have to trust in ourselves. And you hear me say in the program a lot, if even not that, then you know what? Trust the universe, or whatever you want to call it, God or whatever, because we're all supported. People think they're not supported, but you're breathing air. You're supported. You've got water. You're supported. You've got a roof. You're supported. You've got a car. You're supported. But trust is, I think, vital in the transformation process. And then I want to add something else that you did. You know that you've been in the program, so you know that I bought a home in Sedona, Arizona, and it's only a couple of hours from the Grand Canyon, which is mystical and magical. And somebody just posted yesterday, which was a really good post on Instagram, and it said, if you don't believe consistency is the key, look at the Grand Canyon, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
consistent
Yeah.
for millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were is you were trusting in yourself and a process and me. You were trusting you could change. You were trusting you could have a better life. Let me ask you this. By watching other people in the program, did that foster more trust in you for yourself?
It did. It did. Um, I wanted to question. I'm a questioner. I need to know all
Okay.
the answers. And you told me once, you're like, stop doing so many things. Why don't you just stop doing so much? I want to do, I want to know, I want to understand, I want to question. And it was, I don't want to say work, but it was a decision I made. Like, okay, stop questioning. Just sit and see how this plays out. What you, there's nothing to lose here. You're already feeling better, healing better, getting breakthroughs. Just let's see where else this goes. And what I noticed is that in my mind, I was so frantic. It was hard for me to focus. It was hard for me to read. It was hard for me to listen because I had so much frantic thought in my head.
Mm,
And sometimes just talking to you, listening to the coaches, listening to the other people who have been through the program, I got this calm energy from
mm,
them. And that intrigued me so much because I thought, I want that. I want all these voices in my head to be quiet so that I can radiate that calm. And so that was something that really kept me moving forward too, is when you can audibly hear that calmness and you can see it in somebody's personality. And for me, that was something that I thought, you know what, just trust, because they've been through this and they're saying this is where you'll get, and that's what I want. And I trust
mm.
that it's, if I do the work, that's what's going to happen. And I mean, I just have to throw this out there that I have healed in ways that I did not even know were possible.
Mhm.
I am living a life right now, and I'm not talking about externally. My life externally is fine. If you look at my house and my kids and my clothes and everything, it's fine. It's great. But I'm talking about the life that I live internally right now is so incredible. I did not even know it was possible. I did not even know that this was a level of life that I could aim for, because I did not even know it existed. And I am still starting this work.
We all are. I've been on the path with a shaman for 25 years, and I feel like I'm a novice a lot of times. And early in the program, because this is not about the program, this is about life. But early in the program, I said, what I want for everyone in this program is one thing. I want peace of mind. Because when you
Yes.
have peace of mind, that's joy, that's well-being, that is everything. And you're evidencing that when we met, you had no peace of mind,
Mm-mm.
and actually you were like on the negative scale for peace of
I
mind.
had monkey mind. It
Yeah.
was crazy in there.
And when we have all of us, when we have when you have peace of mind, that's when everything just starts to become okay. And
Hmm.
in a very positive way, not okay, but great. And
Great,
yeah,
easy, beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
I mean, life is beautiful.
And it's then we realize, then we start seeing, you know what, that beautiful day outside that I didn't see yesterday, now I see it today.
Hmm.
Another question here is, are you ever afraid that you're going to go back to the old you?
Nope. It's interesting because in my healing journey, I kept doing that. I kept getting better. And then I called it crashing. I would crash again. And I couldn't understand why I was doing it. I couldn't understand how I could prevent it. And that was another thing that I lived in fear of, was that I would crash again if I worked too hard or if I wasn't doing the right work. So that was a huge fear for me, that I would fall back into that depression again. The way I feel now, I never even consider that. It doesn't feel like an option. If I do have bad days. That happens. I do have hard things that happen. That's going to happen. That's life. I work my way right out of it.
Yeah, there's when I started with my brother-in-law, the shaman, the very first night he said, and I never even thought about this in the program until now, and I'll tie it back to you and everyone listening. He said, once you start this path, you can never go back. And back then I'm like, what the heck do you mean? I can go back if I want. Don't tell me I can't go back. And I can quit tomorrow if I want. And what I recognized is the metaphor is I can never go back because that person doesn't exist anymore. And you, for everyone, once we start growing and evolving and transforming, you won't go back because there's no person to go back to anymore, because we're shifting and we're transforming our unconscious identity.
Exactly.
Okay, anything else you want to share? And we talked about a lot. So is there,
I mean, just personally, just because I have you here, I mean, the gratitude that I feel for this work is just immense. It can never really be, I can never explain it. I can never really fully show it. Um, I
okay, you're gonna make
just,
me cry. We're on
I
video
know,
here.
but
People are watching. You're gonna make me cry here.
the
Um,
fact that you're
yeah.
crying and I'm not, I mean, that is the change that has happened in my life, because I couldn't drive anywhere. I couldn't take a shower. I couldn't get through the day without crying. And
Yeah, and you know that what I do is just it's, I don't even like the word labor, but labor of love. This is what I do so that people like you, as I say on every podcast, well, not on every podcast, but every coaching session, is the world is in need of us. The world is in need. The world is in distress. There's a lot of chaotic things happening, and the more that we transform ourselves and grow, the bigger ripple effect we can make in the world, and the better world that we can live in for ourselves and for our kids and for our grandkids. So thank you for sharing. I'm
thank
really,
you.
yeah, absolutely. A big hug to you, and I'll catch you over on the Facebook Live later. And again, thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, talk to you later, okay?
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Okay, so in each and every episode in the past, we always have a transformational takeaway. Now, I can't tell you specifically what was exactly Jennifer's transformational takeaway in the story that she shared, but as I was listening to it, it hit me that the transformational takeaway this week is, for her, is to live in the present, live in the now, which is something that you probably have heard me say many, many times before. So hopefully you found this episode to be insightful in many, many ways about how you also can transform your life. Because as you may have heard me say before, what one person can do, another person can do as well. Okay, the next episode, the Wednesday regular episode, is something that I've not really talked about here on the podcast, but it's the concept of 100% responsibility. And people have told me when they've really learned this, when they've really come to actually not learn, but when they've come to know this, it has become a game changer in their life. So make sure you tune in on Wednesday for the podcast episode on being 100% responsible for every area of your life. Thank you for listening to this entire podcast. If you're the kind of person who likes to help others, then share this with your friends and family. You know, if you found value, they will too. So please share via your social media channels. Also, if you have questions, I'm here to assist. You can email me questions to support@jimfortin.com, and I may even use your question for a future podcast episode. Also, if you want transformational content like this daily, connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram name is I am Jim Fortin. Finally, I do have a personal request. I believe that we're all here to help others and to grow and evolve ourselves. Together, you and I, let's help more people. If you would please leave a review on iTunes, and a good one, by the way. I'd be grateful, and through your assistance together, we can transform more lives. Thanks for listening.